Do you think it's alright for a band to make an entire album which is just based off the works of one person? You may say yes, but what if I told you that a lot of their lyrics were not original, but rather quotes from said person's books? What if the ideas for the songs were just based off said person's books? What if the titles for the songs were even based off some person's books? Who is to blame? Is it a free-for-all when it comes to, creative work? Or should the band have reached out to the person that they were borrowing from and informed them? Is it stealing or is it a tribute? That's what we're going to find out today. Today we're talking about Panic at the Disco versus Chuck Palahniuk. I am a fan of both of these parties. I love Panic at the Disco's music and I love Chuck Palahniuk's books. Some of them. In fact, I have one of them here with me. This is Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. It's probably his most famous work. But I haven't just read Fight Club. I've read Tell All by Chuck Palahniuk, Damned, my favourite, by Chuck Palahniuk, Doomed by Chuck Palahniuk, the sequel, and I plan to read them all eventually. He's a great writer, and I probably talked about this before, but I've kept, stick-it notes in Fight Club because some of the passages were so good. And apparently I'm not the only one who thinks so, because Panic at the Disco has used some of Chuck Palahniuk's phrasing as lyrics, song titles, and basically ideas for songs. This was only on their very first album though, If Ever You Can't Sweat Out. They made it blatantly obvious that they have, basically borrowed, from Chuck Palahniuk's library of work. And the people who read Chuck Palahniuk and the people that listen to Panic at the Disco are two completely different demographics. Sometimes they switch over in cases like myself. So it's very unlikely that the average Panic at the Disco listener is going to understand the references to Chuck Palahniuk's works. I found one really good article or forum about this on IGN. I'll link it in the description. I just want to bring up some topics that I found myself and also were featured on the article. I don't have a physical copy of If Ever You Can't Sweat Out, but it looks like this. Let's talk about the song. The only difference between suicide and martyrdom is the amount of press coverage or something like that. I knew for a very long time, before I even listened to this album, that was the opening line to Chuck Palahniuk's book Survivor, which I guess is a good reference, but it wasn't the last time they did that. In fact, Panic at the Disco later rephrased a book In London Beckon for More Songs About Money, a line from Chuck Palahniuk's book Diary. The line was, "Just for the record, the weather today is slightly sarcastic with a good chance of A, indifference, and B, disinterest in what the critics say." I don't know if that's exactly what was written in the book, but I know it was paraphrased from a line in the book. If you don't think that's enough evidence, the song Time to Dance, the whole plot of the song, is basically the plot of Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. I can tell you for a fact, in Invisible Monsters, there is a line, "Give me envy, give me malice, give me your attention." That is repeated several times in the song Time to Dance, as well as documenting the whole plot of the book. I know that song lyrics are basically just poetry put to music, and Chuck Palahniuk's writing is basically just poetry put in a novel form. But here's the thing, is it uncreative for Panic at the Disco to just take from Chuck Palahniuk's library and use it as the stimulus for their album? Is that uncreative? Is that stealing? I don't know if Chuck Palahniuk ever said anything. I'm pretty certain he's probably never even heard the album. And I can't take sides here because I like both parties. But a lot of people are really angry at Panic at the Disco. I don't know. What do you think? Just let me know in the comments. Is it okay to, straight up take lines from his books and use it as lyrics? I don't know. It's quite unoriginal. And if it had just been one song on the album, no one would have cared because, it's just a reference. Tribute almost to Chuck Palahniuk, but it's every second song on the album. And maybe they were under the impression that no one would notice, but yeah, people noticed. However, I'd like to hear your opinion on the matter. I think that it was a nice tribute to Chuck Palahniuk. However, I do think it's kind of uncreative that a lot of their lyrics were just kind of plucked out of some of his books and no one really noticed because of the demographics thing. If this is the first time I'm bringing this to your attention, then there you go. I'll see you guys next time. I have a lot of great videos planned. Goodbye.